best word to describe Lewis was mischievous. He was always full of fun. He was always getting into trouble at school. Not bad trouble, but mischievous boy type trouble. Always up for a laugh, always had a cheeky answer. As a parent, you think you know your kids. You think if they are having trouble, and it was 6 weeks into the first lockdown, the world had changed. Lewis did tell us, and did tell me, he was bored and lonely. He never said I'm bored, lonely, and he just, I'm bored and lonely, but we were kind of all bored and lonely. It was the first time we'd had a thing called a lockdown. What were we supposed to see? I still don't know. And you think suicide is something that maybe comes to other people and you don't maybe pay much attention to it, but it can happen anywhere. Well, we had no warnings. Maybe Lewis didn't know how to talk, but any other things he would come and talk about. He started smoking. We had agreed that I wasn't happy with it, but provided he did it outside the house, he could do it in the patio, he could do it out the yard. It was okay, and provided he was open about it. So that morning I found him. I actually thought when I came down early, he must be sitting out the back having a smoke. That wasn't the case. And he did it in the middle of the night. I was there, I was in the house, I was sleeping upstairs. So why? We don't know. We'll never know. And then if I keep talking like that, I'm going to cry, so I can't go into the garage. Or I will cry. And then thinking he's outside smoking, and you find him in the garage just before you go to work is not something you'd want anybody else to go through. And doing CPR that you think people only do in movies, and the lady at the 999 number counting you through it and waiting like seems forever till an ambulance comes. And then the ambulance comes and it seems like in no time they're telling you, no, he's gone. It's from putting your head around his door and saying good night, I love you, and him saying I love you back a few hours earlier is a strange feeling. Was there signs? I don't know. And what happened between watching the movie and supposed to go to bed? We don't know. People say it gets easier with time, but these things still can still trip you up. He left his mark. We still don't understand it. I've lost people. My mum and dad have passed away, and you lose people, but I don't know if it's harder. It's hard to explain, and it's not saying that this grief is harder than any other grief or it's worse than anybody else might feel, but it's different. And normally I personally can maybe compartmentalize things. This doesn't matter what box you open and close, it's there and it doesn't go away. I think the only thing I can explain it, and we're a year and a half or whatever, it's I think you learn to live with it. People explain it to me, it's like a tree and it finds the stone in the ground and the roots grow around it. So you keep living and but you learn to accommodate it, perhaps is the only way I can describe it, but it doesn't go away. and there's lots of questions. And those questions, I think you have to stop asking yourself, because you go around in circles and you don't get answers. The what ifs, the whys. What if I'd done this? What if he had done that? He didn't do it, so you need to stop asking yourself. That's how I've tried to deal with it. The only thing that we need to try and convince people is, if that's how you feel, talk about it. Because bored and lonely, if that was Lewis trying to tell us, it didn't work. But if he'd said, I'm bored and lonely, I'm thinking of suicide, well, then we would have done something. It's okay to not be okay is a saying that I've learned a lot. But you have to tell people you're not okay. And then maybe, hopefully, somebody can change your mind, because that's a permanent thing. And maybe the kids are gamers and they think there's a reset button, but there's no reset button. I think when this happens, and I think it's difficult if somebody passes away, and with suicide it's probably even more difficult for people to know what to say to you. But the only advice we can have is be normal. This is something that happened. It's hard when people cross the street when they see you coming, because they don't know what to say to you. So it's not that they don't like you anymore, they avoid you. But we like talking about Lewis. We find it difficult sometimes to bring him up in conversation with others, because we don't know how others will react. But if they bring it up, we're happy to talk about Lewis, and we want to talk about Lewis because he's part of us. And my advice is, don't avoid it, just talk about it as normal as you can. And the more you talk about it, the more normal it becomes. The more you avoid it, then the more that becomes the norm. We can't talk about Lewis without talking about suicide. We're not ashamed of it, but if you can stop more people doing this, I think it's the right thing to do. Because, people put on little plaques and things, and they're all nice, and the schools have done that, and it's fantastic, but it just says Lewis, his birthday, 24th September 2002 to 30th of April 2020. Died suddenly. But, yeah, he died suddenly, but he took his own life. People seem to be afraid, and I don't know what the word is for that, but nobody wants to talk about that. Or not enough people want to talk about it. And until we're all more comfortable talking about it, it won't be something that goes away.